This is section 1.5, part 2, exploring angle pairs. And I'm going to start where we left off here a little bit, but I'm going to start on the bottom of that page. And I want to discuss here the diagram that we have here. And we're finding angles. And this is really going back to practicing adjacent angles, what we know about complementary angles, linear pairs, supplementary angles, all of those types of things. So we're going to tie those all in here. It says here the measure of angle HKI is 48 degrees, and they've labeled that here in your picture. Okay, find the value of each of the following. So we got to figure out the measure of angle HKJ. So the measure of angle HKJ follows that right there. And you'll notice that the measure of angle HKG is 90. And you'll notice that these two together, this angle right here and these two angles right here, form a straight angle, which is 180 degrees. So essentially, I'm going to go ahead and write this in here. This guy right here is 90 degrees. So I know that there's 90 left over here to the left. If there's already 48, 90 minus 48, this angle here is 42 degrees. And you'll notice these two angles here should add up to be 90. Okay, if they add up to be 90, the other's 90, they're 180, they're a straight line. Okay, the measure of angle FKG. The measure of angle FKG goes from F to K to G. Okay, if you look at FKG and you look at these other angles, you'll notice you have a line that goes straight through. And then you also have another line that goes straight through. So essentially, two lines that intersect form vertical angles. And you'll notice that this angle right here, IKJ or JKI, was 42 degrees. Well, if that's the case, these two are straight lines, so FKG is also going to be 42 degrees. Okay? Because those are vertical angles. Now, if FKG is 42, okay, FKG here is 42, this guy on the right, then they're asking for FKJ, which is on the left. These two added together should add up to be 180 degrees. So if I take 180 minus 42 degrees, you should come up with 138. So FKJ is 138 degrees. So you're kind of seeing how we're going through, and we're kind of using our linear pairs, we're using verticals, we're using complementaries, so forth and so on. Okay, IKJ, measure of angle IKJ, we already found that. IKJ, we found that to be 42 degrees. So we can put that on there. The measure of angle FKH, F to K to H. Now, FKH has two angles in here. We can use the angle addition postulate of 90 and 42 to get the big one. Okay, so 90 plus 42 should give us 132 degrees. That would be the angle of 90 degrees plus 42 degrees. And then the last one here is angle GKI, which if I go from G to K to I, again, we're going to use the same concept of the angle addition postulate, part plus part equals whole. So 90 and 48 is going to give me 138 degrees. It would be 90 plus 30, or excuse me, 48. Okay, now there's also other ways you could do that. You can notice that GKI is vertical to FKJ, and so therefore it'd have to be 138 degrees as well. Okay, so let's take a look here at the top here, and I kind of skipped over this because I want to tie this into our next examples. It says an angle bisector, similar to a segment bisector, is a ray that divides an angle into two congruent angles. Well, a segment bisector essentially was the midpoint of a segment, and it created two segments that were equal. Well, an angle bisector is very similar. It just contains, it's a ray that divides the angle into two congruent angles. So as you'll notice here, angle XAY and angle ZAY are exactly the same. These two angles right here are equal, congruent. Its endpoint is at the angle vertex. Within the ray, a segment with the same endpoint is also an angle bisector. So again, it tells you the two angles. Angle XAZ is bisected by ray AY. Therefore, angle XAY is congruent to angle YAZ. In other words, it creates two equal parts. Okay, now let's go through some of these examples here on the last page. And let's start with the first one. It says QR bisects angle PQS. Solve for x and find the measure of angle PQS. So it says angle PQR is 3x. So this guy right here is 3x. Angle RQS is 4x minus 9, and that's right there. And it says that ray QR bisects it. So we know that these two angles are the same. So when I set this up, this should be fairly simple. 3x equals 4x and minus 9. Okay, now I need to solve for x, so I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4x. And make this negative x equals negative 9. Divide each side by negative 1. And x is going to equal positive 9. And now to find the measure of angle PQS, okay, find the measure of angle PQS, I got to plug it in and then add the two parts together. So 3 times 9 gives me 27. And 4 times 9 minus 9 is 36. Minus 9 is also 27. So 27 and 27, because those two are the same, will give me 54, and that is angle PQS. Okay, so it gives you an example of using an angle bisector. Okay, let's take a look here at the second one. Okay, it says angle LC, or ray LC, bisects angle MLB. Solve for x and find the measure of angle MLB. It's very similar to the top one, except for the reason I wanted to address is I want you to do this problem, but there's a screw up on here. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to cross out angle PQR and angle SQR. That was a misprint. Okay, and make sure you put on your sheet the measure of angle MLC and the measure of angle BLC. Okay, and then I want you to solve this. Solve it for x and find the measure of angle MLB. Very similar to the previous problem. Okay, so solve that before you come to class tomorrow. And then the very last one here. We're going to set this one up and take a look at this one. It says solve for x and find the measure of angle HAT. Well, it says the measure of angle MAH is 3x plus 2. So I'm going to go ahead and label that. This is 3x plus 2. The measure of angle HAT is 2x minus 12. Now, on this one, they don't give you a total, the big angle. Okay, and they don't say that there's an angle bisector. These two angles are not congruent to each other, but you'll notice from the picture, you see the box down here. And that box means that these two added up together are 90 degrees, so these are complementary angles. Okay, so I'm going to use the angle addition postulate, 3x plus 2 plus 2x minus 12, and that had better add up to the 90 degrees that are in the angle. Okay, so we've set up the last one. Second to last one I want you to do completely. Okay, and so we've talked about angle bisectors. We've talked about using your angle pairs to find different angle measures in a picture. Okay, and this concludes section 1.5 part 2. Don't forget to complete your problems here on this last page, and don't forget to complete your WSQ.